Hey, I'm JD. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe, please hit like, and please enjoy what I'm doing here with watch repair. So today I have a Zenith automatic, and what's special about this Zenith automatic is it's got a 133.8 bumper movement in it. I've been a little bit afraid of this, but I decided, okay, can't be any worse than any other movement I've worked on. So I'm probably going to take a lot of pictures, but it's a bumper movement. So this watch, I believe this is gold here, 24 karat gold on the strap. I'm not sure about this hook here, what this is all about, how that works, so I'm not going to bother with it. I could, I guess, push it out of the way or try to unlatch it by just pulling this up, because I think that might just do the trick here. Or it might not, I'm not sure. This is kind of a funky looking latch here. Let me think here. How would this work? Oh, look at that. Something else came apart. So there we go. I got to remember that. It goes like this, and then like that. And this, what does this say here? It says ENGLAND. That's England. Made in England. ENGLAND. Made in ENGLAND. And this is a, what is this? I think this might be a serial number or something. What is that? I do not know what that is. That is what? JCS, I think it says. Let me look at that again. It says JC or JG and S. And this is some kind of a writing. I'm going to have to get close on that and see what that says later on. And let's see if there's any other markings on this strap here. I'm going to keep this. This little X here is where the camera's pointing. So that's why I put the X on my mat, in case you're curious. And is there anything else on this thing? There's a little small marking right here. And I'm not sure what the small marking says either. I'm going to look this up, but I think this is gold. So it looks like a very nice watch. So I can see the crystal. It is a plastic crystal, and it's broken in a few areas. So I'm not going to worry about the dirt anymore. I'm going to just take this and set the watch and make sure, put that at 12 o'clock, which should help me, like this, when I remove the hands. There we go. So that's at 12 o'clock, and the hands are up high to remove the hands later. But first we're going to open the back of the watch and have a peek. There's dents on this watch here too. I'm not sure if I can get rid of those dents, because there's quite a few. I had this watch open before, so I'm thinking it's not going to take that much effort to open it. And there we go. There's a lot of scratch marks from previous watchmakers, so I think this thing has been exercised by a priest. It's gone through the process, I think. So there's the bumper movement there. It's moving a little bit because I've moved the watch around. So I'll have to take the power off this watch, but I need to strip this thing down and take the movement out. So I want to dump the movement, but I'd like to get rid of the rotor first before I do that. Not quite sure. As well, there's probably a process of removing the rotor. I probably should remove the rotor first, or do I remove this part first? Not quite sure as well. So there's two things I'm not sure about. And I can't see the click spring here at all either. So I think that needs to be dealt with as well. So again, not quite sure. So I'm going to take a picture of this bumper rotor movement. There's no manuals for this thing, so it probably hasn't been cleaned in a million years. But I will take pictures as it's being disassembled, so I don't have that problem. It's ticking away only because I moved it. I want to get a just a piece of pegwood out here to move this around a bit. So if I just move this, and that's the click spring there, so I could likely remove the plates here and pull up on the plate before I try moving the rotor. It looks like there's little dash marks on the edge there, so as well. Yeah, so I think this has to come off first, but I'm not sure from a click spring perspective, how do I take out this, like disengage the actual winding mechanism other than just letting it run down. Again, not sure of that as well. If I turn it, okay, I can see it there. So there's a little tiny circle, and that circle is right here. There's a little circle, and it says just move that out of the way, and that might disengage the click. So if I take this with a very small pin and let it go, I think this just disengages the winding mechanism, and that's all. So I'm just trying to figure out how to take the power off the mainspring. So I'd rather it not vibrate while I'm it's kind of a leftover vibration. Maybe it's not going to hurt anything. There's also a double wheel here. You can see on the edge right there, there's a double wheel. So I think I will take out the movement and remove the hands and go from there. Now there's got to be a way of taking out the stem. There's a button right in the middle here for stem removal, so usually you pull it out and then you press the button for stem removal. Oh, there, the watch is stopped. I'm going to get my very small screwdriver out to give me a bit of leverage here for the stem. I'm not sure if I push it in to take it out or leave it out to take it out. And that's even too big for that. So this is a mystery. This is the mystery watch for this week. It might be a pivot. This might be the stem removal. Yeah, I think that's for the stem. So this button right here, I think if I push down on that, I can take the stem out. Yeah. So you take it to the complete fully out position, and then you press this button right there, and then you remove the stem. So that's not very difficult to remember. So that's good. And now there's a couple of retaining movement retaining screws here. So I've got one that I can see right there. So I'll take that out, but I really would like to remove this plate here, which I think would be able to, then I'd be able to remove the yeah, I'd be able to remove the rotor, I think, if I got rid of that plate. So let me try that. Okay, there's 3 screws on the top there, and the watch is not ticking anymore, even though it may have some residual power on it. So I'm going to just see if I can pick the right screw size here, or screwdriver size, and remove these 3 screws. So there's one, and I'm going to leave these. I'm going to check and see the dimensions of these screws, because they might be specific to this watch. So 1. These screws are actually really loose, so whoever did the servicing on this watch the last time did not tighten these screws at all. That's 2, and I'm going to look at to see if these screws actually have and 3, and this is super loose. So these screws were not tightened. And my fear is when I lift this up that everything goes bang and I don't know where anything goes back. So I have to be very close look at it before I lift this plate up, because this could be a problem. There are the 3 screws. Take another really close-up picture of this. Like that. And then we're going to try to lift this plate up very carefully. So please stand by. I'm going to get a glove on. Actually, I don't need a glove because I'm going to be washing it after, so I'm not going to bother with a glove right now. But I want to make sure that when this comes up, there we go. That actually did not fly anywhere, so that's good. So now I just have to pull this up and put that wheel back to where it was. So that's that plate there. And I'll just put this aside with the screws, with the 3 screws. And I'm going to take a photo or a picture of this, because that'll have to be returned to position after. And we take a shot of that. Like that. And then I hope you're enjoying this, by the way. The stripping of the bumper movement. And just put that aside there, and I think this would probably come right up as well. No, it's staying where it is, but I might be able to pull the rotor up now. There, right there comes the rotor, and I dropped it straight down again. That was a stupid move. I get my tweezers underneath the rotor, but I want to keep them away from the balance. Okay, that's good right there. This thing just wants to flop everywhere. All right, get that out of there. Run! Okay, that rotor's out. There we go. And now I've got 1 screw holding the case in, I think. I think it's just this screw holding the case in, so I can actually dump the watch. I would love to be able to take out the balance straight up, and that way I don't have to really concern myself with it. But I don't know. Hard to say. If I flip this over and take the hands off, then I can flip it over again and take out the balance, right? So let's try that. So I'm going to loosen this screw here. This is the case screw. I'm having a bit of a slippery screwdriver day today. So that's the case screw, and I'm going to take a piece of Rodico and just grab this screw like that and put that aside as the case screw. And I'm not sure if this will dump now that the case screw is out, and is there a ring around it? Because there might be a ring around this thing. Anyway, I'm going to take another picture. You can't have too many pictures, folks. You can't have too many pictures. And I think there might be a ring here. Is that a ring or the movement? That's the whole movement, I think. I think if I dump that, it's all going to come right out. So let me get my very good Bergeron movement holder. That's the 5395 movement holder. And I can put that down over the movement like this, and then flip the movement over like that, and it might dump right out, and it does. There you go. And there's the crystal. Now you see that crack there? I'm going to see if I can source another crystal for this watch, and you see how high that crystal is? I don't know if it has to be that high, but I'm going to see if I can source another crystal for this watch, because it'd be nice if it had a brand new crystal on it. And there are the hands. Now I want to remove these hands very carefully. I think I can remove them with my hand levers, my smaller hand levers, all at once, all in one shot. So Let me get my very small piece of plastic that should help here and see if I can lift those straight up. I do have the second hand. I'd like it all to come up at once, including the second hand, and it does, so that's perfect. And I'll likely do part of this watch today, and then I'm going to grab these watch parts with Rodico as opposed to a screwdriver. I do not want to scratch them in any way, or as opposed to my tweezers, even though my tweezers are should be scratch proof. So there we go. So that's that. Now if I flip this over, what's going on now with this thing? Can I remove the face first and then deal with the movement after? It looks like there is a spring right here. So if you look at this movement, I'm going to take yet another picture because I think there's a spring right along the edge here. Or it's either a spring or a seal. It might be an old seal, I think. Or no, it's a spring. So this spring, I think, just helps compress this into the this movement into the holder. That's what that is. It's a little spring right there. You see, where's my X? There it is there. That spring there just compresses this movement into the into position. Very interesting. And it looks like the dial is part of the watch for some reason. I'm not sure how that works. Or is it around? Yeah, so the dial itself is sitting on a round disc, I think. Definitely, I think I definitely need yet another picture. No, maybe not. I think I'm good. I would like to get the balance off this watch though, very carefully. Because I don't want the balance to be in place while I'm working on it. I want this balance to be out of the way. Out of the way. So I'm going to just, I don't think I can dump this, but I want to remove the balance. So I want to take the balance, the screw here for the balance, and I'm going to have to put this back on my pad because the pad provides nice protection for the movement itself, right? And I think that's sort of still in focus. Like that. Relatively good focus, I think. So let me just see if I can unscrew this very carefully, and I keep my screwdriver slanted. That's so if it slips, it doesn't slip into the balance. And that's good there. Now, the tricky part. Will this come up, or will I have to do it more to get this thing up? Nope, that's coming up like that. Now I'm wondering if I lift this up from the balance, like this, and I tilt it, actually it comes straight up. Thing of beauty. Great engineering. Great engineering. So now I have to lower this onto my tack very carefully. Now this is actually touching the brass part, the pivot is, which I don't like, but I'm not terribly against it. So now what I could do is lift it up and put it on this balance tack, which I think might be a little bit more appropriate, because I think I can get this separation. Yeah, I might be able to get the balance on this tack without having the balance touch anything. So it's so small though. It's a baby. And there's the bounce sitting on the tack, or the bounce. I just going to move that a little bit closer here, and then just edge the bounce forward a bit, like that, and that should be fine. Yeah, just leave it just like this. There, I'm just going to leave it like this. Let me just show you what I got. So it's just sitting on the top like that. Not sure how safe that is. I'd rather have it sitting on this actually with a little bit of faux leather on there would be nice. If I can find a little tiny piece of faux leather to put down there and put that bounce down on that, I'd rather have it low like that than up high. So let me see if I have any leftover faux leather here. I may have thrown it in my faux leather container. There, I want to put it just like that, and so it's the bounce, the tip of the bounce pivot is touching that faux leather, and it's not going to get in trouble at all, and and not a piece of metal, and that way I can store it kind of like this, and get that out of the way. So I have a container here that I've used for other things, so it's got a dial washer in it and everything, so I'm going to put this stuff here in this container all by itself, and I'm doing it kind of in isolation, and it fits actually really nicely in there. It's snug in there with the feet. It's not like I designed it that way, but so I put it in like that, and then put the cover on this like this, and that way I don't hit this with anything, and just put that aside, get that out of the way. If I've learned anything in doing watch repair, is that once you've done work, get it out of the way. So now I've got this to deal with, and I don't know exactly how to take this thing out yet, or if it even comes out, but I know that spring here is right here, and I can see where it's attached. So I'm going to take another photograph at the top of this. Like if you can look down, straight down, you can see where that spring is attached. Let me just go up in the focus a bit, or just move this down like that, and you can see right there the spring kind of goes into the edge here of the case. So this is part of the case, or part of the movement. I'm not sure what you call it, but it's there. So, and it's funny, like this, taking this out should allow you to remove the movement, but it doesn't seem to want to be removed. So I'm just looking at it again to see if there's any tabs. Sometimes with these movements, you just rotate them. Other times, you just have to put a screwdriver in, and the whole face will lift up. Let me see if that's the case here. You do not want to force it, because if it's not lifting up naturally, then there are probably screws holding it in place. So I'm looking at this again to see if there's any way of lifting the screws up here. There's no way that this ring is causing the movement to stay in place. I don't think, anyway. Oh my God, right? Oh me, oh my. So what I'm going to do is see if this will rotate at all. Nope, it doesn't look like it rotates. It actually looks like this metal plate in the bottom, right here, is part of the movement here. So this whole thing would have to come out. But as I look at it right now, it may pop up the top, because I can see the ring on the bottom here, and it doesn't look like there's any mechanism to take this out. It looks like it may go down. So I could try to push the whole thing out. And guess what? It worked. So the whole thing actually pushes out. Oh yeah, that's amazing. This is what happens when you don't have any manuals. Now I can see a screw right here that looks like it's sort of broken. There's a screw right on the edge here that looks like it's been mangled a bit. And these are probably holding in the dial feet. There's also a screw in the edge right there. Maybe they're all edge screws. Yeah, there's another screw in the edge here. Those might hold in the inner part of the dial feet. So I'm going to be really brave and just loosen those two screws I see on the edge, which might allow the watch to come out. But this here looks like it's there on purpose. That might be just aligning with the case. So I think that this little thing here just simply aligns with the case, right? So let me see if I put my screwdriver in through this hole here and loosen the screw up here. I'd really love to have, I'm going to take a picture of it just like that, sort of laying down. I'm going to have it, lay it down like that and then just take a picture of that screw coming out, just so I remember where that came from, right? The old disassembly of the bumper movement trick. There's a screw right there, and just take a picture of that. And I want to make sure I understand that other screw that's sort of right there, that one right there, I think is an alignment one for the case. Now if you work at the factory, of course, you're doing 25 of these a day, right? So there's no issue at all. But obviously I don't work at the factory anymore, so and take out the other one. The other one's on the other side, right here. Get a good grip on it while I turn it, just so I don't have any issues. There we go. And see if I can grab this with my tweezers. If I can, I'll use Rodico to take it out. No, there we go. So those, I'm hoping, are holding the face down. And I think they were. Just hang on until I find my way around here. There we go. And there it is. That's the dial. And there's two dial feet being held on by sideways dials. So that's those two dials. Now I definitely have to take a picture of this. I may not disassemble this stuff here. It just depends, because I'll likely never be able to find that again. But I can see we've got a, I can't remember what that's called, a chantron or something. There's a French name for that. But I do have a center wheel there. I've got other things that I need to take apart. So I think I can start actively disassembling some of this stuff here, just down to a level that I can get at the other stuff. Right, so again, these screws are super loose. Like, there's a problem with whoever maintained this last time didn't do a great job. Those screws are ridiculously loose. They're not in any way tight enough for a watch. I just sort of slipped and then it fell, and then so that screw is somewhere. Oh, there it is. It's sort of right there. Let's see if I can grab this. Put it next to the other screw, and then this plate can come up. I'm going to grab this plate with Rodico maybe, or my tweezers. I might just grab this with Rodico and go straight up with it. Like that. And put that plate together with its screws. And now this should come straight up. The center wheel comes straight up like that. And then the other center wheel like that, and then the seconds wheel should come straight up as well, I think. Yeah, the seconds wheel is just kind of sitting there. It's got no pinion in the center or anything. That is weird, really odd. Just kind of sits there. You have another look at that wheel. Oh, I see. There's a little tiny pivot on the very bottom of that wheel, and that pivot fits into a very small hole right there. There's a spring right there that I don't think I want to mess with. And then I've got to be able to remove, doesn't seem to be a cannon pinion on this thing. So I think I have to remove it. I may have to put this in a movement holder now because I've got this sticking out and it's got the seconds thing here, so I don't want that to cause me issues. So I'm going to get a movement holder now. So now I've put the movement into the Myers number 58 movement holder, and it's this little screw right here is safe. It's not in the way of anyone. It's right there, that one I showed you earlier. And when you're tightening this on this side here, it tightens a spring which tightens the movement. So I've flipped it around and I've put it in the movement holder. Now it's ready for disassembly, but I'm going to get a drink of water first. So now I can remove this wheel here. And I don't know the names of these wheels, but remove this wheel here and then take a picture. So we got to know where all this stuff goes when I'm finished. So I'm going to just take a picture every time I remove something. And I might bring one of my cameras over just for the lighting, because it's pretty good at lighting things up. And it's got an LED light on it, and I can just point that down at like that, and that provides me a bit of extra lighting for the work. And I take my picture. It's not going to be. There we go. So remove that. Yeah, that goes all the way down, gear down. I don't think this can be removed yet until I remove the plate, and that's the spring here for this click. That goes all the way around like that and engages with the spring like this. It's the world's smallest spring. So I'm going to take a picture of that as well, because I know when I go to put that together later on, I'm going to go, how the hell did that work? I'm just looking around for anything else that might be worthy of taking out. I think this plate can come off now. 1, 2. I already took this screw out, which was actually a screw for the whole movement. So I think there's got to be more than 2 screws. So maybe this one here is also part of that removal, even though there's an opening here for that. So I'm going to try to take this off the way it is and just lift it straight up. So wish me luck. I'm going to just undo these 2 screws here. Oh, I'm going to put my glove on here so I can put a little bit of pressure on top. Actually, I'll use my stick. Use my Bergeron stick to hold this down. And if you've seen me work before, you'll see that I have the Bergeron stick. So I have a Apple Watch. That is the Apple Titanium. I've got to take this off because it's way too big and it gets in the way of my operation here. And I'm just keeping an eye out for pivots and other things. So here we go. One part at a time. And I'm going to see if these screws are of different lengths, because they might be. If they are, then I have to store them differently, but I don't think they are actually. They're the same length, so that's good. And will this plate lift now with those two screws out? Doesn't look like it wants to lift. It's lifting on this side. I have to take a picture on the side there because there's some funky stuff happening right there, and I want to make sure I don't forget that. I may actually have to remove that top screw. See if I can remove this top screw here before I lift this up, because you do not want to bend the plate for sure. So I'll remove this screw like that, and I just need to take another picture, I think, because this, I'm just going to lay it down like that and take a picture. And then remove the screw here and the wheel that's underneath it. It looks like there's a gasket. It looks like it can go either way. So that screw there, that gasket, and then this wheel just sits down there. So I'll take that out as well. And I'm looking around to see what's holding this back. Are there any other screws here? I don't think there are. I think this thing should lift straight up. And it is. There we go. So I think maybe this screw was part of the whole thing, so you couldn't lift it up until you remove that as well. So there we go. So that plate's off now. I'm just looking underneath to see what's part of it, and there's a wheel down there that is part of that plate. So I'll just put that plate aside with the two screws and the other screw, the third screw, and then I have the barrel to take off. This should lift straight up actually. Now the barrel's a double barrel. You see there's a ratchet and then another barrel, so you got to slip it out sideways or just drop it down like that so that barrel actually fits in. And there's another one, and it goes on top. So I want to make sure I take a picture of that, because that is a double barrel. Because I will forget to do that. Because you put the barrel in, and then you put the winding ratchet in after. So I just get rid of the piece of plastic over here that's going to get in the way. So that's the barrel there, and after I could take the barrel out or leave the barrel in or whatever, but I think this will lift straight up now, maybe, or not. So let me just get the sequence of events right here. Get this barrel out of the way. This should come straight up, yes. So I'm just going to leave that there and then take another picture. That's like that was like Lady Di picture there with all the people. So I think I have to remove this plate here before I remove this wheel, because I think the bottom part of it is attached. So now this wheel is out. I think the plate needs to be removed, so I'll take another picture of this with the wheel out. And then this needs to be removed here. I need a smaller screwdriver for that. You always have the right screwdriver for the right job here. So hopefully you're still seeing everything. I think I need an even smaller screwdriver for this. I want to make sure the screwdriver fits in the slot perfectly when I turn it. And that's really good there. And again, I'm matching up the screws. I'm going to use Rodico to take this out. I'm matching up the screws and the plates only because I've never taken apart a movement like this before. So I think this thing dropped on the way to Hollywood there. There it is. And that's the two parts there, and that now that plate should come up. I'm not sure if this thing here you just lift sideways and take out. I think that's what you do. You lift that sideways and you take it out very carefully. Like that. And you see how there is another wheel on the bottom. So I'm not sure if that wheel actually just comes out or if it's permanent or what. I think it's staked on there. So we'll leave that the way it is. This thing is a funky, funky watch. And I see how this is. Now I'm going to take another picture. Because I should be able to lift this plate up now. I'm going to get it at an angle here. Like so. There we go. And there's a pinion sticking up from that middle piece. So I'm going to grab this plate here. Like that. And I'm going to match that up with the screws again. And this wheel should lift straight up. Like this. And then I'm hoping this wheel also comes straight up. And it does. So that's the center wheel with the second hand on it. So I won't fart around with that while I got it in my hands. And then there's the escapement wheel. Now I can take that out now, or I can just undo the screws, like loosen the screws up for the for this. I also think this fell out. I think this is a weird configuration here. These two things, I think, go together or something. Or no, this falls inside of here. Like that. I'm going to take a picture of that because that's going to be really fun to get back in place. I may turn my camera light on. There we go. So I know that's going to be a hoot to get back in place, I'm sure. That goes inside there, and then this comes up. That goes right over the top there. So I want to make sure I don't forget how that works, because they're two different wheels, even though they look exactly the same. Yeah, they kind of look exactly the same. And then I've got this that comes up like this. Yeah, what a weird configuration that is. Eh? And I've got another one on the bottom there. If I can just lift this escapement out of the way. That's the escape wheel or escapement wheel. Get that out of the way like this, and then I just have to remove this for the pallet forks. You saw this worked earlier, right? The way that was attached to the overall movement here. And this is one piece. So this is machined as one giant piece, which is kind of weird, but it is. So, but I need to remove the pallet fork. So I'm going to take one out here like this. It is weird how loose all these things are. They're definitely not watchmaker tight. They're not tight enough. And then this one here. in this case here, I want to hold this bridge down while I'm doing that, because I do not want the bridge to pop up and in any way harm the pivot for the pallet fork. So I'm just going to grab this with Rodico and put it down here like that, and then I should be able to just jog this up just a bit. There we go, and then lift that straight up, and there is the bridge, and there's the pallet fork, and I lift the pallet fork straight up as well. There's the pallet fork. I'll put that next to it. I think on this side that's it. I'll just take a shot of the empty movement here. Now I want to flip this around and see if I have any leftovers. Now I'm very afraid of taking apart the this part here. And the only reason I'm afraid of that is that I'd have to buy another movement if anything happened to these springs setting mechanisms. So, but I do want to know, I do want to make sure they're in tight enough. And they are. That's good there. And the only thing I have is this jewel here, and it's tucked in there nicely. I think I'm gonna just nudge that in a bit more because it looks like it's kind of on the edge there. I think that might be good enough. And I'll leave that where it is. Make sure that make sure that's got some tightness on it. Now there's a spring right here, so I want to take a picture of this just in case the spring lets go, but I want to leave that where it is. So this wheel jumped off the bottom, so I think this wheel is part of all these other wheels, or it goes right here maybe. Not completely sure. I may have to find out where that wheel goes before I take everything apart, because I'll be missing a wheel if I don't, and that wouldn't be good. So let me put this back in here like this and then hunt for the position of that wheel, where that might have gone. The winding mechanisms are all here. So this wheel, I'm not actually sure where that goes. Who knows? But this is the wheel right here. It's got it's ratcheted, so maybe it does go on top of here. So maybe there's two wheels that go on there. A bigger one and a smaller one. I'll have to figure that out. I want to take a picture of all these parts before I completely give up on everything. Yeah, I wish I could have a picture of that wheel and the other wheel, so I make sure when I put that together I know exactly where it goes. So that's it. That's the movement disassembled. Let me take a picture of this. There we go. And that, I'm going to put this up and make this video. So that's the this watch completely disassembled. And there's a picture of the watch, and it's disassembled all its components, and I'll be putting that into the the basket and into the cleaning machine and go for a nice clean. And of course, assembly will be the next thing, which will be a lot of fun being a rookie at this particular movement. But I'll just reverse the pictures and or reverse the video and see what I have. Thanks a lot for watching today, and please hit like, please subscribe if you can, and we'll go from there.